WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. We're positively into March, spring training, March Madness, and the true madness, which is what's going to happen to Lamar Jackson. Dennis Koulatsos joins us now. He will be discussing all of these things and more. It's a lacrosse season as well in his world on Thursday from 3 until 5, and the Sunday Sports Voice. And, of course, you can find him out at D. Koulatsos Show as well, and you'll hear it on Sunday morning as well. But we get together here usually early in the week or talking about things, and we have no football now, right? Like, the Angelo's family doesn't put the baseball games on, so we can't even see these young guys play. And we're watching the Terps, but this Lamar Jackson story is bigger than the Orioles, the Terps, bigger than the Ravens. It's really like it's an ESPN story now, right? Like it's the hot take topic for sports fans everywhere in regard to how the Ravens are going to handle this. It's weirdly become sort of the epicenter of the offseason in a lot of ways.
No question about it, Nestor. It affects not just the Baltimore Ravens, but the entire league, the entire NFL. Whether you're talking about free agency, the NFL draft, the combine, there's 6 to 10 teams that could potentially bid for Lamar Jackson's services. So that would certainly cause a domino effect in terms of who are all these teams looking at in free agency as well as the draft. Case in point of the Ravens. The Ravens have to be ready to draft 5 players to perhaps trade back, trade up, not trade at all. Stand still, or they could have a plethora of picks if they do in fact move away from Lamar Jackson in the tag and trade scenarios. So all these things have to be addressed. So the domino effect that Lamar Jackson's stalemate with the Ravens has had throughout the league, Nestor, is just very, very, very important.
You know, all these years later, it's been 15 years now. I saw Chad Henne play playoff football last month, right? Literally, right? And I thought about the way the Ravens played the game with Flacco the first time around. And I thought about how they played the game the second time around when they were done with Flacco. They were done with him for whatever price, age, break it, whatever. It feels to me, and it feels to you, and we're the only two guys, maybe Lock and Four is on this, but I don't know what the hell he believes these days. But we're the only ones really, really pretty convinced he's gone. Like we are, and if we're convinced he's gone, and I'm talking to Luke about Taylor Heinicke or Derek Carr, who apparently the Jets are in love with now, or, you know, it depends on which week between now and the draft. We have the combine this week, owners meetings, offseason, Herbert, Burrow, Hurts. I mean, any of those guys could sign a deal any day, right? But we're talking about all this, but this would be where the Ravens combine week would fall in love with somebody they can get at 16 or 12 or 18. They fell in love with Lamar Jackson at 32, and they've made it work for 5 years, and they haven't paid him a lot of money, and they've won a lot of games. And I think they're done with him. I think there's a long list of reasons why I think they're done with him, same as you. So if they're done with him, this will be as important a week as there is, because whoever that quarterback they've been out there looking at and saying, well, if we deal Lamar, we got to get that guy. And maybe we'll suck next year. Maybe we'll win 7 or 8 games. Maybe we'll disappoint Calais Campbell and Marlon Humphrey, who are convinced Lamar's coming back, right, somehow. But this would be a week during the Underwear Olympics where whomever their scouts liked in the season, they've known they have a quarterback issue. This isn't new. It hasn't just gotten dropped on their lap. And whatever was scrimmaged in Jupiter between Steve Bisciotti, Eric DeCosta, the brass, I guess Chad Steele was there too. That'd be interesting. Kevin Byrne used to go sometimes. So I would say for me, that quarterback this week, this is a really important week for the Ravens. And whoever their next quarterback's going to be, whether it's Derek Carr, veteran guy, whatever, even if they took a veteran guy, if they fall in love with a Joe Flacco, not a Chad Henne, but couldn't get a Matt Ryan, or if they don't like a CJ Stroud, but they maybe fall, like, I don't know what guy they like, but whatever guy they like and say, we can build around that guy. Hey, 5 years ago, they fell in love with this kid from Louisville nobody else wanted.
Well, let's keep in mind, too, that Todd Monken, the new offensive coordinator, he won back-to-back national championships with a guy by the name of Stetson Bennett. And looking at Bennett's draft reports, he can go as high as the 4th round, and he could also go undrafted depending on what he does this week at the combine. He's lurking in the background. I think the sad thing for me, Ness, is I would love to see what Lamar Jackson would do in the Todd Monken offense. Still an outside shot that could happen. Lamar Jackson does not have to sign the tag, right? They put a tag contract in front of him. He can just say, I'm not signing it. He can just show up September the 1st before the league start finding him game checks, and he can still very much play or sit out on the 1-year deal. Lots of things have to be discussed.
I don't think the Ravens want to do that. The Ravens will not be a party to that, right?
They don't want to do that, but what are their options, though? If they tag him and he refuses to sign the tag, what options would they have, Ness? I mean, they would get somebody to play quarterback for them, right? And you would just have this guy on the books, I guess, or not. I don't know how
that's
that
the Le'Veon Bell plan, right? Like
it worked out too well for Le'Veon, though, did it?
Well, hey, it hasn't worked out well for a couple of guys that have sort of swum against the water, against
You're still a year older. I get you don't get the wear and tear on your body, but you're still a year older. You're not fighting. You're not going to win against Father Time.
Well, Ray Rice never played again, right?
Ray Rice never played again.
Colin Kaepernick never took a snap again.
Here's the other thing that somebody told me, asked me yesterday. They said, "How's Lamar's knee?" We don't know. We don't know. Has the knee healed? Has it begun to heal? Will he be ready come September the 1st? Will he be ready for training camp or OTAs? Regardless of who he's playing for, what's the status? What's the update on his knee?
And how do you negotiate all this without an agent? Like, I started thinking about Deshaun Watson last year, and I talked to Luke about this earlier. You can check it out at Baltimore Positive. And I said, this time last year, Deshaun Watson's trying to stay out of jail. He's got 30 women chasing him around. He's got lawyers from them chasing him around. He's trying to stay fit enough to play quarterback. He's trying to get a deal. The Texans are trying to sanitize themselves and get rid of him and get as much back as they can get. They don't give a rat's patoot how much money he gets. And then the phone starts burning up. And all of a sudden, the Texans are like, holy hell, this guy's a serial rapist. And 4 teams are like willing to give up 3 drafts to us for him and pay him. Well, which one's really going to pay him? All this got handled by some cat in a tie that's an agent that has a team of people. And I've seen these teams of Team Rosenhaus. I mean, Dennis, I begged you to go to the combine all the years before they threw me out. So shame on both of us for not doing it. Not really shame on you because it's really cold and awful there. You really don't want to go to Indianapolis, but you know what I mean. But I would go out there and see the organizations that these agents have put together. Jeff Morad, Lee Steinberg. These guys just don't collect their 5% of Patrick Mahomes' deal and put it in their pocket and hang out. I mean, they have real people that do real work. And when it comes to this part of a negotiation and all of it, whether it's Lamar's knee, we need to get a physical. How much money? What are the guarantees? We don't even know the young man. Can we meet the young man? Daniel Snyder would want to send the helicopter and bring him down to Potomac and sit him in the den and sit there and talk to him for 10 hours before you give him $250 million, right? Like, I can't believe that the Browns gave Deshaun Watson $250 million without meeting him. Like, the crazy stuff. So all of this, it was orchestrated feverishly last year between the Texans, all of their Eric DeCostas and representatives and legal people, all of the Browns people, all the Falcons people, all the Panthers people, all the Saints people, and then all of Deshaun Watson's team that got him $232 million guaranteed money. There was a ton of activity. That's a lot of people. It's a lot of secretaries. It's a lot of appointments. It's a lot of phones. It's a lot of Zoom. It's a lot of legal. It's a lot of capologists. It's the owner. It's the owner's wife in Cleveland, right? How is that going to happen here, Dennis? And to your point, you're like, maybe 8 or 10 teams. So you're going to now multiply that for the suitors for Lamar.
I am. I really am.
And who gets to talk to Lamar? Lamar's mother? I mean, who's talking to the Falcons about money? Like, who's doing that on behalf of Lamar?
Look, he's got people in his camp. We don't know who his people are besides his mother. The NFL Players Association certainly has their own leaks. They contacted allegedly Stephen A. Smith and told him that Lamar Jackson's camp has never demanded a fully guaranteed contract. Well, that's just wordplay. Let's say he asked for $300 million with $250 of it guaranteed. Okay, so it's more guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson has. So what? It's all semantics. It's all wordplay. It doesn't matter. It's all noise, and it's going to remain noise, and that's deafening noise until somebody blinks, until somebody does something, which will be the Baltimore Ravens by placing the exclusive tag on Lamar Jackson. I do not believe they're going to use the non-exclusive tag on him. They'll put the exclusive tag on him, and then they'll wait for the phone to ring, whether it rings 1 time or 8 times. And it only has to ring once. 10 teams will bid against themselves for sure. I think we saw the Browns do that. And now they have a $55 million cap hit for the next 4 years in a division where they have to play the Ravens, the Steelers, and the Bengals twice every year.
But will they be playing the Ravens with Lamar Jackson or Derek Carr or Stetson Bennett or
might be Baker? We may see Baker Mayfield in Baltimore. A lot of things could happen. This thing with Todd Monken as your offensive coordinator, Ness, a lot of things could happen. This thing could go in multiple directions.
All right. So what would make Lamar come? How would Lamar stay here? We've gone the other direction. You and I have been. We're too negative. You know, the car dealer out in security and loudmouth or whatever. They're negative on Lamar.
I love Lamar Jackson. You know that.
I know you do.
But I'm also a businessman. And I wouldn't guarantee any player a full contract. I don't care who it is. It handicaps your team. If Lamar Jackson gets $250 guaranteed, he blows out a knee next year and never plays again, guess what? The team's not going to win for the next 4 or 5 years. It's as simple as that. That's why you can't do it, Ness. It's not the business thing to do.
Okay. So what's going to happen in your mind? I asked Luke, and Luke's like, I know it gets clicks to say you know what's going to happen. Luke's like, I have no idea. But only thing I feel like I'm pretty sure of is that the Ravens are done with him. And and I don't know that he's not done with the Ravens either. I don't know enough about that. But him not waving a towel on the sideline during a playoff game, like I think he, in his mind, is like, they don't love me enough. I think this is a very happy divorce on both sides. If I am guessing about this, Lamar kind of doesn't trust them, and they kind of don't trust Lamar on Twitter for 3.5 hours saying outlandish stuff that only his girlfriend could talk about. I just don't think they want to be in business with him anymore. And because of that, I believe there will be an outcome. Now, what happens between now and then, and I said this to Luke, because DeCosta and Harbaugh are going to take the podium again this week. And I mean, the last time Harbaugh got here, Lamar was picking the offensive coordinators. Let's see what fudge he can come up with this time, right? So, but with DeCosta sweating bullets and lying is, just lying, just sitting there like a really poor Kenny Rogers gambler at the poker table, lying and so obviously scribbling and sweating and no eye contact. All of the tells. I mean, DeCosta would be a terrible poker player, but they're going to have to do that again. And the most important thing, and I think it's been 6 weeks since I said this to you, and I know you agree, is the most important thing they can do is talk about what a great young man Lamar is and what a hard worker he is and how they're looking forward to having him back, and they can't wait for him to get together. Like all of this, selling it down the river that he's coming back.
Yeah, but that's exactly what they've done. They've been quiet. There's been nothing coming out of the Ravens camp except what you just said. They love him. They want him back. They'd like to see him sign a contract. But DeCosta did say it takes 2 to tango. And my belief is if Lamar Jackson wants to be in Baltimore, he'll make it happen. Do I see it coming together? Perhaps maybe a 4-year deal that would get his attention, maybe with a higher guarantee. But if he wants to be in Baltimore, Nestor, he'll be in Baltimore. And as you and I have talked ad nauseum, all indications are he does not want to be in Baltimore. So they will, just like any player who doesn't want to be in Baltimore, they will move him out.
What tells you he doesn't want to be in Baltimore? What tells you that he's done?
Well, I think him not traveling to Cincinnati to wave the towel for his team was telling. I think they were shocked he never came back after his injury against the Broncos. I think him giving out his own injury report to tell fans, hey, I'm not making this up. I'm really injured. I think the back and forth with that fan and the vulgar language he used was a big setback in a very image conscious organization. I think all those things are huge to the Ravens, and they factor in. And that's why I don't think he's coming back.
Dennis Koulatsos speaking his truth. He'll be doing that on Thursday from 3 until 5, as well as over Coons, Baltimore 4. We're making deals. I got to tell you, I drove. My daughter-in-law got a car from you, and I actually had to drive it. Let me just say this. Can I make a public service announcement? Because I know you travel internationally sometimes.
Sure.
Never, ever, ever, and you're a car dealer, you should know this. Never, ever put your car keys in the check bag. Because if you don't get your check bag, you don't get your car. So the reason I was driving my Coons Ford, my family vehicle from your dealership, my daughter-in-law, because I didn't have a car the other night because I trapped myself and my car keys were in Chicago. So,
No,
but it was kind of like something out of the Blues Brothers. You know what I mean?
it happened.
But give me a little update on the dealership and what's going on, because we're getting into spring, President's Day, all that. My wife's been dog sledding in northern New Hampshire, 4-wheel drive and all that. So I think her visions of 4-wheel drive, now that we're in like March, she's thinking, well, maybe next year for that part. But where are you with vehicles right now? And what's the, I don't want to say what's the best way to, I mean, obviously I want people to go to you, but is it internet, call, come in? How do people do it these
Yeah,
days?
well, we're almost back to pre-pandemic conditions in the sense that we have lots of inventory. We have close to 300 new vehicles on the stock and over 200 pre-owned vehicles. So it's back to pre-pandemic conditions in terms of availability and pricing and things of that nature. So
Did you think that
that's where
might
we are.
never come back? Because I mean, you and I have traveled enough to know, like,
Yeah,
when you go to buy a car in San Francisco, the showroom's like in the corner of a place that looks like Looney's Pub in Canton. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
that the showroom would be different, or the lot would be different. The fact that it's come back, I'm interested in that, because that had to freak you out to look out on that lot for a year and a half and not see cars, right?
Yeah, when you have 30 acres versus, one or two, it does make a difference. And when you see a barren 30-acre lot versus a lot of dealerships just don't have the square footage that we do. So we're very blessed in that sense. A lot of dealerships have off-site lots, but here at Coons Ford Baltimore, we have 30 acres. And right now, we're almost at capacity.
So the difference, the real difference, and this is for my wife, right, who's old and who didn't want to order a car off the internet and needed to drive it. And I told you about the great lady up in Oakland, Maryland, that did a half an hour presentation for my wife. She should come work for you, right? But my wife would totally prefer. And let me say something to you about it, because I'll help you sell cars right now, because this is important. I'm in my daughter-in-law's car, and I got in, and she's got, I don't know the name of the car. It's
C-Max, I
square.
remember. It's a C-Max.
It's,
One of my
it's
fa- one of my favorite cars. Absolutely.
first off, when I went to steal it the other day in Dundalk in the middle of the night, when I banged on the door and hoped that the cops didn't come and was happy my kid doesn't have a gun, it had this blue gas pump in it, like out in front, right? And I'm like, my son, middle of the night, give me the keys, just take it, Dad. Shirt off. This is my kid, right? And I'm like, it's got a blue gas pump. What do I know how to do that. He's like, oh, hold on. He comes out, shirt off, takes the gas pump out of the thing, and then I go to and I go to start it, and this was the truth.
Right.
I started it 5 times because you don't hear it start, right?
The
And
hybrid.
I've had a hybrid, like I've
Yeah.
rented on the road or whatever, but I forget like how quiet they are. And this, give me the name, the
It's C-Max.
C-Max. It has a
C-Max.
huge windshield, and
It's a
you
great
sit
car.
up high. I
Yep.
felt like a cab driver in London, like I was in a carriage. Yeah, I felt, and I'm like, sort of like this. I told her that after driving. I only drove it to Essex to Peach
Oh,
Johns, but I sort of liked it. And I said, you can see really well out of it. And now you tell me you like it too. I
oh,
liked it
love it.
after driving. I thought to myself, if this is inexpensive and less on gas and blah, 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 I would drive this. I would look cool in this car.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite demonstrators, and I really love taking it to Ravens games. Very easy to park, 45 miles to the gallon. What's there not to like? They don't make that car anymore. It's one of the vehicles I wish Ford would have kept around.
So I have to steal my daughter-in-law's now?
You have to steal it, yeah. But it's a great, great
Well,
car. Should last them another 15 years.
I
It's a
would think the
fantastic car.
pandemic changed all sorts of things, right?
It did.
Well,
Oh yeah.
Dennis, I'm glad we talked about it, because I did want to tell you about it, because like the idea that my wife was going to buy a car on mail order, that's just not. She needs to get it and drive it. So now that
Yes,
you have these cars back,
some people do that, but yeah, most people want to touch, feel, drive the car, and we have plenty of inventory of every model where our customers can certainly do that. Yeah, I like
nice.
it too. I enjoy it. We want instant gratification. We want our vehicles right now. And look, some folks can wait to have a secondary vehicle, but most people don't. So we have enough inventory to accommodate our public.
All right. Well, I'm gonna borrow my daughter-in-law's car more often.
It's fun to
Dennis
drive. You
Koulatsos.
should.
It was fun. I had a good time driving her. I
Yeah,
I really saw the road well, and like that's just different.
great
I
car.
rent cars all the time, and I had an SUV down in Florida for a day or two. So I get different cars, and I like them all. Gets me from A to B. I'm very pragmatic about it, but I did like it. So
Yeah.
nonetheless,
The
Dennis.
vi-
Last thing for you. Have you noticed baseball? Are you
oh,
terping a little bit? I mean, the Terps have been
yes.
fun.
The Terps have been a lot of fun. I watched their victory against Purdue in College Park. I watched the game the other day. I mean, they're undefeated at home. Kevin Willard has done a phenomenal job. So I've been watching Terps basketball, Terps lacrosse season. Love to see, as you said, some more Orioles baseball, but unfortunately, the home team's owners have, in their wisdom, given us, I believe, 5 games to take a look at, which is insane.
Somebody wrote the other day, just the day it started. It's probably when I was stuck in Chicago. I was checking things out, and somebody was, a big fan of the team, wrote a little thing about spring training and not having the games. I wish I could see the games. And I wrote, and I don't mean to be a jerk. I mean, my walkout was 17 years ago now, 17 years later, and this is still what they think of not you and me, but them, us, the great unwashed, the fans. They only deserve 5 games. The whole premise of the organization when they stunk was always pitching the younger kids. This is the only time that they play unless they go to Bowie or Aberdeen
Yeah.
for 5 minutes or go down to Norfolk or whatever, right? And I wrote just one sentence, and I don't have any jerk left in me when it comes to Angelos, like right, like the war's over, as they'd say, in regard to him. I do care about what happens next and these kids, but I
Mhm.
said incompetence never takes a day off.
Mm.
Never. There's never a day where I've seen incompetent people go on this streak for a while where like, oh, they've changed their ways. I mean, especially the John Angelos, like sitting down with the FM radio station when your flagships be like just crazy things going on. But this stands among all of it because John always fancied himself the MASN guy, right? John was always on the MASN side and understanding digital. They were always last in class. They were last to get HD. They still don't stream their games. They're the only team that doesn't do that. They're still fighting with it. But these are just simple things. Like Dennis, if you and Mr. Coons bought the team and you got together with me, the first thing you'd say is, we got to put the spring training games on TV. We got to sell tickets. This is how
Absolutely.
this is
Yeah.
how we sell tickets. This is the album, and then they come and see the tour in April. Give them
Do,
the
do, do,
album, and then they'll. I.
do you
It's
think there's a chance that the Orioles fan base would love to see all these number one draft picks they have playing together? Do you think that this fan base would like to see what the future looks like? I love to see Jackson Holiday. I like all these number one picks that they have. Grayson Rodriguez. Love to see all these guys playing right now. And maybe, I'm going to buy more tickets than a 13 pack I bought for the season.
Oh, you bought 13.
I
What?
did. I did.
Am I going to be the guy that goes with you that day at 4:30 when you can't find
I
anybody else to go with you? Or do you
absolutely.
think people are going to really want to go?
I think people want to go. They should have a better year than last year. I mean, do they win 87 games, 90 games, 92 games, and people will come out to watch a winner. They will support a winner, and they're on the rise
You know,
in spite of the organization.
you know how much I love Luke, and I know how much you love Luke. You're going to have Luke on your show Thursday. He said to me when I got into the baseball part of our conversation this week, they could have done more. They should have done more. Now, just take that sentence, put any they in there, whether it's Coons Ford, Dennis, your salesperson, Mr. Coons, in your business or in my business, for me, the guest, that segment could have been better. I could have done more in that segment. I could have done more for my clients. I could have done more reading ads. I could have given more truth. I could have worked harder to go to the Super Bowl, to go to do the things that I do. The fact that you could say that somebody like Luke, who's a very down and really wants them to do well.
He
I mean,
does.
he loves the Orioles. He understands their warts and all. He's invested a lot more over the last 17 years than I have in the baseball team. But when his feeling is they could have done more, they should have done more, That is just such a, like, I don't want to use the word crappy. I want to use the Essex word for the Dundalk word for that and say that is a crappy, crappy sentiment for any walk of life to
Mm.
say, my wife, my son, my church, my friend, they could have done more. They should have done more. They just didn't. They just didn't.
Well,
That's just such an insult. If anybody said to me, I could have done more and I should have done more, I would be joy. That's a punch in the mouth, is to me.
how about the Padres, right? They just extended Manny Machado 11 years, 350 million. You think they done more? You think their fan base is happy with the organization? They're trying to win with Manny, former Oriole Manny Machado.
Well, it's really just, it's also weird to me because you mentioned Jackson Holiday and all these number ones. They're bragging about their number one overall picks. And I'm thinking to myself, the reason you have number one overall picks
Yeah.
is because you let Manny Machado walk away and the old man gave money to Chris Davis. And then you guys just sort of stopped caring for a while. You blew it up. Like, and it needed to be blown up, and everybody adored you for blowing it up. But like, the fact that you ever have to blow it up, if Mr. Coons has to blow up Coons Ford, or if my ownership group has to blow up WNST, it doesn't speak well for whatever you've been doing.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, like, literally. All right. Well, we'll see you on Thursday from 3 until 5, and again on Sunday mornings. As always, having breakfast with Dennis Coons, Baltimore Ford. You'll never say that about me, and I'll never say that about you. We could have done more. We should have done more. We're doing plenty. We're out there. We're hanging out, talking a lot of football, getting ready for Lamar. Obviously, lacrosse season and all that. Terps going to win a couple games, March Madness. They're going to make this fun, aren't they?
Yes, they are. We'll all be tuning in for sure. Everybody loves the Terps.
Maryland, we're all behind. I'm
That's right.
relearning the
That's right.
songs, man. Absolutely. Hey, it's
That's
Dennis
right.
Koulatsos. I am Nestor. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking. Baltimore positive.